Okay guys, this is a different perspective. I don't know if you guys can see this. We've got a couple people just paddled out, and we have a couple people, including there's a woman and a yellow board. And there's a guy out here on, I don't know, he's got a black shirt on, talking about the spot. I just wanted to kind of show you guys just on that last wave, and even kind of like looking on the inside here on these tiny little crumbly rollers. If you look at kind of where the people are and where the wave's actually breaking, no one is actually sitting at the spot. So I just wanted to comment that this could be for a couple reasons. One, maybe they came out and it was a little bit bigger one day, it had more power. So here's another wave just forming in the back. You can see this gentleman's actually way far away from this beautiful little juicy peak. You could probably go left or right on this one. The right will kind of reform. Small. So there's that person going for it, but really they're not in the spot. The spot was back there. So they actually kind of tried to catch it on the shoulder of the wave. And because it's so small and weak, right now today on this beautiful sunset session, if you are not right in the center, if you're not in the smack dab in the middle of that pocket, yeah, you can forget about catching a wave. So here's another tiny little juicy peak. So there's somebody going for it, and they're actually quite close to the peak, but they didn't quite paddle far enough in. And also, to be quite honest, it didn't look like it broke that well. But the woman with, oh yes, yellow board, yeah, she got it. So good job, girl. So the other person would have gotten it if they paddled a little bit more. And again, it's not about harder. It's about she didn't paddle quite far enough into where it's actually peaking. So here's another one. If you guys can actually see the peak right there. And then you can see this gentleman who's paddling for the wave missed it. The guy or girl, I'm not sure who you are, but the surfer who's on that wave and riding it was actually in front of the spot, in front of the peak. But they caught it because there was enough energy in the breaking wave to get it. And look at that, riding it almost all the way down to the beach before a little tumble. So this is just to kind of go show. And imagine if he actually was a little bit, like a few meters back, he would have actually had to paddle less hard because the wave would have had a little bit more punch. Again, right as the wave is breaking is when it has the most force, even when it's a tiny little wave. So if you can be right at that spot of force, there's a really good chance. Just like, you know, right where this woman is there, she was, you guys can see how it wrapped around. Again, she was a little bit in front of the spot. She kind of was a bit passive there and letting the wave kind of push her. But you can see even with the tiny little waves, there is enough force, and she made it all the way to the beach. Good job, surfer girl. Here's another spot, perfect little peaky tiny wave. The gentleman sitting a little bit too far off to the shoulder. In fact, this wave is so small, it doesn't even have much of a shoulder that would not even reach him. So yeah, another good example. So I'm sitting out here and I just wanted to do this extra little bit of commentary because this is where if I had my longboard and I was out here, I would be sitting in this little inside zone and just sticking myself right in. So there's another one I'm going to point. I don't know if you guys can see right there. It is. Another little peak. Another, again, not in the right spot and not paddling the right way. So hopefully you guys can, sometimes it's easier to see it from this perspective than when we're actually in it, right? So anyway, hopefully you guys can also enjoy this beautiful sunset session. This is the condos, the town, beautiful bay, looking over towards Puerto Vallarta, and We're actually in a huge bay. It actually wraps. Some guys fishing over there in the point. I'm next to the little tiny marina that we have, and those actually little islands over there, and that's open ocean. So gorgeous little spot. Anyway, so I just wanted to kind of point that out. Who's catching waves, who's not catching waves, and who's not actually taking advantage and making the most of these little waves. Again, there's always waves. They're not always perfect. They're not always clean, perfect overhead or waist high or however you like them, but there's always something surfable, no matter how tiny or it is. The only thing is when it's too big and you have to stay in the ocean because it's too big. Well, that's another story. But anyway, just wanted to show you guys all what that little peak looks like. And you can kind of see actually that spot that those two are sitting in. You could actually see that wave almost broke around them, but it's a little bit too small. It ended up breaking behind them. But that's why they're hanging out there. That's one of the spots. There's actually a few spots, but that's one of the spots. And those are the folks that actually just paddled out. And they've already caught more waves than the folks that have been out for a little bit. One more coming out again. This one doesn't wrap quite as much. Here they're seeing, these guys are actually paddling towards, I don't know if you guys can see, they're paddling towards the peak. So again, paying attention, being active to your environment, being active to where you want to position yourself. This doesn't mean you have to paddle constantly, but it does actually make a huge difference to paddle consciously, conscientiously, however it is. Just gonna wait a few more moments here because there is another little wave just coming out the back. You guys can see these guys are sitting out here. Again, the guy in the shoulder, way too far off in the shoulder. These two are right in the sweet spot, and let's see if they catch the wave. Oh, actually, it had enough juice. Okay, yeah, there we go. So notice that this guy in the black, his positioning is much better. The guy in the shoulder, the wave had enough energy to carry him initially, but again, his positioning wasn't really great, which is important because it also sets up your pop-up, your stand-up. It sets you up on how you're gonna ride the wave and all these other things. So yeah, all super important. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that for now. You guys can enjoy the beautiful sunset colors.